With the doctor, I think you should use an old doctor rather than a young one, because young doctors are actually, they know what it's like because they're in the generations of mental illness and everything, whereas older doctors are more naive and everything. So I think you should definitely use an older doctor rather than a young one, because then it would work better and more realistic.
Did you say, like in the opening scene, you was going to have her seeing the being, but she doesn't know if it's like in her head or not? I think you could kind of play on that and have like her seeing the being, but then have someone walk past and be like, "Oh, are you alright?" And she's like, "Oh, did they see it, or am I just seeing it?" If that makes sense. So you can like involve someone else. So like that makes sense.
It's a good idea.
I've got two things. Sort of similar to what Katie said. I think that instead of the doctor being new to the practice, it'd be a new doctor for her. So the old one retired maybe.
Yeah.
So he doesn't know her backstory instead of not knowing the condition, because it's unlikely if he's trained and qualified to not know what to do.
Yeah.
And also, why does she go to the park?
Because she wants to get away from the confined area of her room.
Okay,
Just
so
needs to be
mental
out in the
illness doesn't want to
open.
be enclosed.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I do feel like you got a lot of stuff going on in that opening, like lots of different settings, and I just felt like, so the genre that you picked, you might be better off being a bit more ambiguous about what's going to happen. Like, you almost tell the story in the opening, you know, whereas maybe you could, a bit like what Katie said about playing on that opening scene, do you know what I mean? Like, rather than go to the park and the doctors, and I think you could maybe just really play on it and make more use of the mise en scène and the sound and the lighting, and make it really obvious what your genre is.
We did think about not having the park bit because we thought it might be too much to have all of them, but we're still thinking about how we could get it to flow.
Yeah.
What you could do is, I know you said you weren't going to include a lot of sound, but you could almost have it as in like the room is quite loud in itself. I don't know what kind of genre of music, or quite
Like a room
so
tone
it feels
though.
like quite oppressive. And then if they do go to the park, it's like almost like the exact opposite. It's silent.
Yeah.
But then you could always end your opening with, instead of going to the doctors, like she's in the park to try and get around for that sound and the being, but then in the end of the shot you see the being, and then that will be your title sequence, and then it kind of links into this horror theme, and then as the film progresses you find out why, kind of thing.
You could have a voiceover of the conversation that she might have with a psychiatrist and just over the visuals. Do you know what I mean? So you see her in a room and you see her in the park, but you're still hearing that voiceover of her conversation.
Yeah, like she's talking like it's in the past. Like
Yeah.
it happened yesterday, but
Yeah,
we're seeing it.
yeah,
That's cool.
yeah. Thanks, Mum.
Instead of completely getting rid of the park scene or whatever, you could have her just in the doctors, and when he's asking her questions or whatever, she could like flash back to what she saw in the park. So like it's not really like a big part of the scene, but it's still in there to show the audience like why she's there and stuff.
Either or. Any more from the front here? No. Okay, people at the back then. Oh, stand up and make you talk. Maddie?
I like the strong detail in the character and like how her mental illness developed over time, and like the aspect of her brother. I was wondering, how are you gonna intertwine, like to show how her brother's passed away recently and how that's affected her and that kind of thing.
If you did a voiceover of a conversation between the psychiatrist and her, that could come briefly into a conversation.
Yeah, because we were going to have her, like, anyway, talking about it with the psychiatrist, which is why she thinks it's why she caused a relapse anyway.
So again, I think that the part like might be good if it isn't in the first scene, like the first opening. Then there'll be more focus on the doctors.
How will you like create the dark shadow thing? Will you just do it with the lighting, or?
What we were thinking is, what we wanted was kind of the main bit of the room to be fairly light, ish, and then the corners to be darker.
Okay.
And
We like
then-
add an effect on or something.
Yeah, I'll probably add a bit of
Okay.
effects or just use lighting to kind of manipulate the setting ourselves.
You can put a mat on, like half or part of the screen, just like a black mat.
I think sort of going on what you said, like you've got quite a full film opening with a lot in it, like a lot of scenes. Whereas a 2-minute voiceover, you can get a lot, like 10 seconds of talking is enough, but you've got 2 minutes where you can go into a lot of detail, and then you can really focus on things like visuals
Mm.
Yeah.
instead of just getting, you know, you might get 3 scenes in there, but they might not be that great. So if you focus
Yeah.
really on that shadow character and the look of it, and then you've got the explanation over the top, but if it looks really effective, it'll be better.
Mm.
Yeah, I was just going to say I think the voiceover is like a good idea because I think if you didn't use the voiceover you'd probably have to get rid of the doctor's bit because I think you'd be trying to fit in too much and give away too much in the first 2 minutes. So yeah, I think the voiceover is a good idea.
I think a good way to do the voiceover as well, if you wanted to cut out, say, the doctor's scene, is do it like a voicemail. So as she's like in the room and going to the park, you have like the transitions of voicemail, like maybe one from her mother illustrating the younger brother has died, and then one say from her doctor talking about what they've discussed, and then maybe like one from a friend or something that makes you not only empathise but conveys the story in a cool way.
You could always do like a recording of like an audio tape of like the conversation the doctor and the girl is having. I don't know like what age would come into that or like how you could do it, because if she's been going to these counselling lessons for like ages, she might like have skipped like so many years worth and it might be like a catch up, but something like that could be cool.